Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is the February OPI LEA standing meeting for the OPI, and we've got some special guests with us from the American Academy of Pediatrics. I'd like to introduce Dr. Lori Carter and Dr. Jennifer Hall.
Dr. Jennifer Hall.
Thank you.
Good morning, all. Let's go ahead.
Good morning, all. I want to thank very much the pediatricians for being on our call today. We are embarking on a partnership, and it's important in a pandemic that we partner together, that we understand the impacts as well as our solutions coming out of this. And would like to then very quickly go ahead, and I have Dr. Carter here and Dr. Hall. If you'll see, we're going to talk about the school reduction of the mask mandates that came from the governor's directives, as well as some collaboration that we can have to make sure that our workforce, that our schools can continue teaching and that learning can happen at all of our schools across our state. So with that, Dr. Carter, if you'd like to go ahead and share what we're working on and where we are.
Thanks, Superintendent Arntzen. So I guess just to introduce ourselves, Dr. Hall and myself are two Montana pediatricians, and along with our executive director, Kylie Bodley, we are here to discuss the agenda items as mentioned. We represent Montana pediatricians through our state chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and specifically our COVID-19 Child Health Subcommittee, which includes pediatricians from across the state. So we're so pleased to be invited to be part of this discussion because we definitely want to learn to see what our partners regarding care of our pediatric patients, our children of Montana are thinking in terms of specifically the mask mandate in school with the governor's recent directive, as well as how we might be able to collaborate for a vaccine education tool that we're developing. So I guess first, I wanted to get a little bit of background as to the discussion and the group OPI specifically. And I was looking at the OPI website and I saw that the motto is putting Montana students first. And in the safety and student support in 2020-2021 document, the title was Keeping Students Safe and Healthy. And I saw that under science-based resources and tools for safe in-person operation of K through 12 schools, the CDC operational tool was referenced. So in my mind, that was really reassuring that we're all using the same language and we all have the same goals. So I think Dr. Hall and myself and Kylie wanted to open up to questions. I know that Dr. Hall and Dr. Wilson had been here in December and spoke a little bit about COVID-19 and children and the impact. I think we're all very happy that in our state as well as in our country, we've seen the cases of COVID declining, though they're certainly still present. So we wanted to add on to that talk and to be able to discuss further, specifically the mask mandate in school as well as vaccine education. So I'm happy to open this up to thoughts that this distinguished group has. And if Dr. Hall or Kylie, you have anything to add, feel free to jump in.
So Dr. Carter, this is Superintendent Arntzen. I know I had asked the question back in December if there was going to be any vaccinations for children or for youth. I've heard things, but I haven't had anything confirmed. So don't know where that might be nationally or in Montana. If you could enlighten us on that, that would be great.
Sure. So right now,
I need to spend some time today and sit down and lay out these meetings so that they're not.
the two vaccines that are available for the community, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, are approved down to 16 years old. So that would be for the older high school students. Right now, there are studies being done for the age of 12 to 15, and there's some discussion that perhaps these might be able to be approved for EUA or emergency use authorization by the end of the summer or so. I don't know that there is a specific timeline that anybody's been able to set out, because it really depends on how the studies go.
Thank you. And then just another one, if I could, Dr. Carter or Dr. Hall. I know we talked about mask mandates and knowing that, where we might be as our COVID rates do decline. I'm a local control gal, so I firmly believe that it is up to our county health as well as to our local school boards to make that determination, and hoping that there's great collaboration between those leaders in that realm. One things that we have seen, especially in our special education students, making sure that they have every opportunity to learn, but there may be a challenge with wearing or not wearing, or moving to a remote form of learning rather than not. Do you have any thoughts at all with various types of students wearing masks or not wearing masks at this point?
Yes, so I will, this is Jennifer Hall, to speak to that. So I think that, certainly as we move forward in this pandemic, the question comes up regarding masks. And as we see levels of COVID decline and vaccination rates go up, that gives us some hope that we're on the right path. But we know that COVID is still a reality, and that some of these mitigation measures, that we have used and have been really successful with are going to continue to be important as we move forward. And as I think you all know, one of the most important mitigation factors we have in schools, of course, is using masks for students and staff. And that certainly helps keep schools a very safe place for our students to learn and for staff to work. So it's really important. Certainly for some of our students, wearing masks can be more difficult. So some of the students who have significant disabilities or delays might struggle with it, particularly kids with more sensory sorts of issues. But by and large, that is rare. And we certainly see this in our offices and in the community, that the vast majority of kids will tolerate mask wearing quite well. And it's the rare exception that we need to maybe excuse a child from that, or offer other educational options if that's appropriate.
Okay, well, I wanted to just open it up if there were any questions regarding that. And then Dr. Carter or Dr. Hall, or if you would like to share what our partnership is going to look like. And going forward, I know that we had talked last week about a possible grant coming from the American Pediatrics Association and what that might impact on teaching and learning as we move forward.
Great. I'm happy to talk about our collaboration to give everyone a little bit of time in case there are other questions that come up regarding the school mask mandate. So the Child Health and COVID-19 Subcommittee of the Montana chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics has developed a project that we are hoping to be able to gain collaboration with OPI and its associated agencies. So the mission of this project is to address vaccine hesitancy and to join with our community partners to address issues surrounding COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in educators, school support staff, and ultimately other essential workers and our children and their families, with the end goal of improving COVID-19 vaccine uptake among these target groups. So the three particular points are: one, to identify gaps or beliefs in participants' understanding that could benefit from additional education via a first survey that we'll send out. We will talk a little bit more about that survey in a moment. The second is to provide education through a town hall in collaboration with this group, OPI and partners, and subsequent programmatic material that may be shared electronically to individuals or groups, or through additional group discussions with medical providers. Number three is to determine the impact of this education through a second and possibly third online survey. So we met with Superintendent Arntzen, and we appreciate her insight and guidance for this particular project. She has agreed to write a letter of support for a grant that we're applying through the National American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as had some great suggestions in terms of how we can further disseminate this project and gain collaborators. So we have two asks from the group. The first is if you could distribute this first and subsequent surveys to your school staff, educators, and administrators, since that is the first target group that we're hoping to provide the education. And Kylie will post this link for our SurveyMonkey survey in the chat box. So if you could share this with your group, we're hoping to be able to collect all the responses by the second week in March. That way we'll have enough information from this survey to have a better idea of what are the frequently asked questions that would help with the town hall. And the second ask we have for this group is to participate and have this town hall with the participants today, as well as other identified team members, with the goals to disseminate our education as well as elicit additional concerns or questions that might lead to vaccine hesitancy for this COVID-19 vaccine.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, and all that are here. You know, whether or not the vaccine is going to be readily available to all of the staff in Montana, whether it's based on where we are at this point by age or by the propensity of illness, wanting to make sure that there was an opportunity for you as school leaders to see exactly what that might look like in your buildings and in your communities. And I know we're all unique and we're all different, and we all would like to have, I believe, as educators, have more information on what that means. And as we are closing out this school year and moving into the next school year and making sure that we have a healthy learning environment for staff as well as for children and families that do participate in your schools, wanting to see exactly what that might look like. So Dr. Carter, we had talked last week about what that survey might be, and not to have it be an all-encompassing. It's going to be, I believe, just very simple, and also not directed to you must take the vaccine or you are shamed into taking the vaccine. It's gathering knowledge on where we are in education at this point to help you make that determination at your local level. So Dr. Carter or Dr. Hall, if you would just share what the length of the survey, if I remember it was one question or two, it was very, very short. If you could share with what the expectations might be.
Perhaps Kylie, if you wanted to share a little bit, because I know that you've delved into all the details on the language and had to work out the logistics of the survey.
Yeah, it's a very brief survey. It takes most people under a minute to complete. There are 3 questions, but only 1 or 2 are required, if you will. And I don't even think we required all of them to be answered. So basically it just asks how likely you are to take the vaccine. And then if you have concerns, what are they? And it's just a checkbox. So there's no, basically we're just trying to collect information on how we can best bring this information to all of our teachers in Montana, that for the questions that you might have on a vaccine that will be offered to all of you within the next few months, hopefully.
So thank you very much for that, Kylie. So what I'm looking at is to show what the questions would be. And I know the chat box could be there, but I would like to disseminate this to those that are participating today and then put it on the website. And again, this isn't something that is a requisite or a question. This is to gather some information on Montana and Montana moving forward. And looking also to see if you had said that there might be another survey and then after the town hall. And again, in my mind, I don't want to put more onto your plates. You have a lot as you close out this school year, as you're looking at your teaching capacity, you're looking at learning, you're looking at so many things. So this is not a requisite by any means. It's just another manner of seeing as a population of educators how it is that we can best serve. So I believe there was a question in the chat box. Let me see. This was to Dr. Carter from Scott Kenny. When we are discussing the vaccine, which vaccine is being proposed and are the different vaccines the same or similar? Parents and staff are somewhat confused by the different types. And I think that's a true statement. And it's not just a true statement dealing with our world of education, but just with the vaccine itself and how it reacts with our population in Montana. Dr. Carter?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it changes sort of, I don't know about day by day, but at least week by week in terms of the different vaccines and where they are in the trials and the studies and getting EUA or emergency use authorization approval from the FDA. So, right now in Montana, there are 2 different manufacturers for the COVID vaccine, and they're actually quite similar. So the Pfizer BioNTech, or what we call the Pfizer vaccine, and the Moderna vaccine are both using technology that's very similar. And you'll find the efficacy is similar, the side effects are similar, the risks that have been found are similar. So depending on which particular vaccine is available at your location, clinic, health agency, that is the one that will be offered. And the CDC is not recommending at this time that people wait to see which other vaccines are able to be released to choose the manufacturer, the specific vaccine that they get administered. There is another one from Johnson & Johnson that is coming down the pipes for being approved by the FDA. And that one has a slightly different technology where there's a actual virus that carries the protein into the body. So slightly different technology, but also has been found to be very efficacious. So that one may be approved by, I believe, the end of March. And depending on what the release from the manufacturer is in terms of the number of vaccines, that may determine whether that's available in your area. But again, it's not that the particular manufacturer is something that people should be taking in consideration at this time when they're choosing whether
Kind of cut out there.
Yes.
I would say that's exactly the type of question, though, that we would like to address in this type of town hall. Just getting this type of information out. Pediatricians are the main people in our state that vaccinate people. So additional questions like that. Sorry, Dr. Carter, you froze.
Oh, sorry.
So I just kind of took over a little bit.
Great. Perfect.
I was just saying that's the exact type of question that we would like to address in our town hall and get the information from you. I see another question in the chat box about some states are having schools are coming into schools to vaccinate staff, and is this being discussed in Montana? I would say that would be a great question for DPHHS and Charlie Brereton at the governor's office. I can follow up with him and Elsie on that one and get and Superintendent Arntzen, my apologies, and get an answer on that.
And I think thank you very much, Kylie. I believe, like I said, I'm a local control girl. I would hope that the school leaders would have that opportunity to say yes or to say no. regarding what their community determines, and especially as the vaccines go further. What I'm also looking at then is just basic information about the vaccine. I mean, we're all adults that are on this call at this point, and we all serve children. But understanding that, to be healthy in that manner of serving is important. So there might be an important FAQ that we could post on our website, or can be sent out to the leaders that we have on this call, and can be readily available for anyone on just those basic questions as the vaccine gets a little bit more, how do I want to say, ingrained into knowing and more information around it. And I don't know, Dr. Carter or Dr. Hall, if you have that opportunity to go to another source that might share that we could put it on our website. So that would initiate the education on what the vaccine is, not just for the teachers and our teacher leaders and the community, but also for our family members, because we all have family members that are looking for more education as well.
I apologize. I think I have unstable internet access here. But, I think that's a great opportunity. We're developing because we're calling it at this point, the programmatic material in a toolkit that will include a video that has some basic information, and then other information that we gather from the frequently asked questions at the town hall. Using today to gather some of these frequently asked questions, I think is wonderful in terms of a start. We want to make sure that people have time to think about their questions, because as you mentioned, Superintendent Arnson, that our goal isn't to convince people one way or the other about the vaccine. It's really just to make sure that people have all the education they need to be able to make an informed decision. So, at any point, we're happy to take questions. Maybe, Kylie, if you put the Montana AEP website where people might be able to submit questions, that we would be happy to take questions at any point about what the concerns people have about the COVID vaccine.
In the chat box, it says from Elliot that the Toole County Health Department is scheduled to offer a vaccine clinic at the Shelby Public Schools for staff. So again, coming back to that local control model and knowing that the school is the heart of our communities, that this is indeed happening. So any other further questions that anyone might want to ask of our doctors at this point, or of me?
I would like to note that I was messaged that we didn't have the option to answer that if you have gotten vaccinated already. We had designed this survey thinking that most of the teachers wouldn't have been able to get vaccinated, but one educator mentioned that so far 58% of their school already had that opportunity. So that's great, and we hope that we are able to, that our state's able to get enough vaccine for anyone who would like one.
So I think it's just a reflection that things are changing daily, as health is, and wanting to make sure that we do come out of this much healthier than before. Well, this has taken about 20 minutes, and I know everyone is very busy and time is precious as we are closing out our school year. Is there anything else that anyone would like to say at this point? This recording will go out, as well as if I could have the questions, Kylie, that you had alluded to, so they can see how this isn't going to take too much time. And again, I appreciate the emphasis that this isn't to share that everybody should be vaccinated. This is a personal choice at this time, but it's also to give more information on what the vaccine does do. And as we have pediatricians here, and making sure that our children are safe. We want to make sure that our staff that are in all of our public schools and our schools across our state have that same opportunity. So Dr. Carter, Dr. Hall, anything else as we close this down?
I guess I just wanted to make sure that opportunity to ask questions to Dr. Hall and I about the mask face coverings in school was able to be asked. The CDC did release that operational tool on February 12th, which came out ironically the same day as Governor Gianforte's directive, and had specific references to face coverings at school. So I just wanted to make sure that the participants here were able to view that document, and there weren't any particular questions that we could help answer.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you all. I wish you a healthy day. It's Tuesday, and we've got quite a lot more days left in the school, in the work week. Doctors, thank you. Dr. Carter, Dr. Hall, thank you very much. Appreciate and looking forward to our partnership. There'll be information that will flow out to you as participants and will be on our website as well. With that, everyone, please stay well, and I bid you all a great day. Thank you.